And Thomas Tan, Executive Director of Real Estate Agency Remax, the HDB, joins us this evening for a chat. Thomas, now the HDB resale market has, been hit by the government's cooling measures, and I think the number of new build-to-order flats also adding a bit of pressure to all that. So, what do you think? Have we cooled enough already?
Well, I think it's a matter of time that the minister will probably look at the numbers and say when is the right time for him to remove some of the cooling measures, because right now, as of now, the demand itself has been taken away. Number one, from the launch of the BTO flats. Then the second one will be they took away some form of demand from the PR, whereby the PR need to wait 3 years before they can actually own a resale flat. And of course, to me, more importantly, is the mortgage servicing ratio of 30%. When they did the mortgage servicing ratio of 30%, it literally curbs the affordability of the buyers, so thereby literally taking away some demand away from some of these buyers.
Well, the government will begin to taper off construction of public housing from this year. Last month, the first tranche of the 24,300 BTO flats that HDB has planned for 2014 was launched. And given, current resale prices and the COVs that we're looking at, first-time home buyers, what should they be looking for?
Like I said, the BTO flats are generally meant to take away demand from the first-timers. So the first-time buyers will probably want to go for BTO flat rather than go into the resale market. So looking forward, if you see the resale market, this year will probably be a year of caution, whereby you don't see much of the first-timers unless they really have a need to, or they already started a family, they really need a space over their head. If not, they probably can wait 3 years for the BTO flats to be ready.
Well, let's talk a bit about cash-up evaluation, because that used to be the buzzword, and in December it was 5,000. Last month it was 3,000, with some areas having 0 or even negative COVs. And the recent report also says that 3 in 10 HDB deals close below valuation. So COVs, do you think they'll soon become a thing of the past?
Yeah, you probably see that it was zeroized pretty soon. Okay, it's already trending that way. So since the beginning of the year, it was COV was like a medium range of 35,000. Right now, it's at $33,000. So you probably see it trending towards the 0, or even for some estates, like what is mentioned, but through SRX report, that some estates will probably clock in below valuation right now.
And of course, some areas are leading that drop. I mean, we talk about Punggol and Sengkang. More than 50% of the transactions there have negative overall COVs. So with the supply of more flats in these areas, I mean, how is that going to affect things?
Punggol and Sengkang is what we call a maturing estate. That means a lot of the minimum occupation period has been fulfilled by the current owners. So naturally, you will see a bigger supply in such an estate as such, like especially for Punggol. Many of flats are turning 5 years, coming to 5 years, or just turned 5 years last year, the previous years. So naturally, you will see a bigger supply coming from this estate. That will put a downward pressure in terms of the prices.
Well, those are younger estates, but we talk about the more mature estates, like Bishan, for example. I mean, even there, it saw 33.3% of transactions with negative overall COV, even though we heard recently that one of the masonettes there fetched about $1 million.
Yeah, it's 1.05 to be exact. That's like 250,000 above the valuation price. That's why you can see for mature estates like Bishan and all that, if you were to analyze the numbers further given by SRX, you probably see that the number of transactions is not a big size good enough for us to analyze it, probably because it's a one-off, two-off kind of basis. So if you look at Bishan as a whole, it still has a very, very attractive attributes. Being centralized, being Bishan, people still tend to pay a bit more premium for it. So it may not necessarily be a 0 COV game in Bishan.
Well, I mean, from the sounds of it, it sounds like some areas are definitely a lot more popular with people than others, right? And that's going to sort of work the balance, which is why I guess the overall resale prices for HDB still gain a marginal of 0.3% in January. So you think the market is going to be as active as it is right now?
It's going to be active, especially in the second half of this year. But having said that, this year, 2014, is probably going to be a year whereby it's a year of caution, it's a year of stagnation. The buyers and sellers will probably be on the lookout for good bargains on the buyer side. The sellers probably have to be more realistic in their expectations. So if they really are motivated to move their units, they probably have to adjust the expectation quite a little bit.
Okay, just last question. I'm going to ask you to gaze into your crystal ball. About, next 6 months, where do you think the market's going to be? HDB resale prices, what do you think? Will they continue? Will they drop?
It will stagnate. I think it will be pretty much, the graph will look pretty much the same as what it is right now. That means the level of pricing will be probably pretty much similar to what we have right now. Okay, although we may see in certain estates like what we mentioned, Punggol, Sengkang, may have more fluctuations in that sense. But for the mature estates, I think it's more or less, same old, same old.
So as usual, they always say location, 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 right? Okay,
Absolutely.
thanks so much, Thomas,
Absolutely.
for sharing your insights with us. Just been speaking with Thomas Tan from Remax on the HDB Resale Market Outlook.